It's final day, everybody. Are you ready for the chaos? I think I turned into Chris Morris, Justin, from Brass Eye for that. It was probably a little bit over the top, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, there's never any over the top with you, Ben, let's be honest.
It's just all consistently ridiculous. Ben, you know about YouTube. You've got to get in hot, haven't you? You've got to hook the watcher in those first 2 seconds, or alternatively scare them off.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I hope that the final day in the championship will be just the same as well. It'll hook us from minute one.
It always hooks us, Ryan, doesn't it? It's like, you like your wrestling, it's like Vince Russo writes the final day of the championship, doesn't it? And it's all just completely ridiculous.
That was a reference I was not expecting to hear today, but I am so here for it. What a reference that is. Yeah, that is top class. And hopefully Vince Russo has been very busy getting some crazy run-ins happening in the games.
I follow him on Twitter, so I wonder if we can get a reply from Vince Russo about, just for anybody not in the know, if you're looking very blankly. He was the guy that had Stone Cold Steve Austin spraying beer over everybody and various things hung at the roof of the stadium or whatever for the wrestlers.
He's a nut job, basically.
Yeah, but loads of people watched. Not to say that it was good, but lots of people watched. And lots of people watched Justin Peach, and I'm coming to you first for a specific reason after your consistent besmirching of poor old Scott Parker. Lots of people watched on Tuesday night as Bournemouth won the match of the century. Look, I hedged my bets for a long time, Justin, on the assumption that it was just going to be too much to throw away and a little bit too far for Forest. And with no amount of smugness at all, that was proven to be the case. What was your takeaways?
Yeah, I was always relatively confident that Bournemouth would get over the line. The points gap was quite big. It's just the manner in which they did it with the squad that they've got just left a sour taste in my mouth. And that comes down to Scott Parker. But credit to him and Bournemouth for shutting off the main threats that Forest posed on Monday, the other night, Tuesday night. It really was a really good game plan executed to near perfection in the second half. First half was a bit sketchy, but second half, I think Forest had 2 or 3 touches in the Bournemouth area, which for a Forest team who have been a runaway train, to quote some Bournemouth supporters, is quite some going.
Ben, this narrative obviously has come up lots and lots, and we're never too far away from the balance between talking about the system, which we all understand is broken, and we all acknowledge that's not Bournemouth's responsibility to fix, or Fulham's, or anyone else perhaps in that position. Looking back at it now, we all sat here after the ridiculous January. The team wasn't built on those signings that came in January. Yeah, Nat Phillips has been good, hasn't he? But Cantwell, barely used. Woodman couldn't get past Travers. It's still been Solanke and Billing. Cook returning with Lerma. They were all already there. As Justin says, credit to Parker for going with the left side of the youngsters, Anthony. And yeah, you would say Dembele scored some important late goals as a sub, and Kiefer Moore did. But ultimately, the big splurge was just to bulk up the squad. And I suppose that's not a good thing. That will probably irritate other Championship fans even more, ultimately, that you can have the BMW, the Mercedes, the Audi, the Tesla. But do you know what? I'm just going to drive the whatever space cruiser I've already got to work every day.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head with that one, really, because I think that what those January signings came up with didn't necessarily add towards, a total system change or the squad ethos or anything like that. It was literally just moments from those players. I mean, Dembele away at Blackpool, like we saw with Kiefer Moore in these recent matches as well, that sort of got them over the line. I think there's even the argument that at times Parker's maybe struggled a little bit with that bigger squad in the second half of the season. I think there was more consistency with that unbeaten run at the start of the season, with a little bit more of a tighter squad in there. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one to see how they sort of manage this group now going back up to the Premier League, who they see as fit and who they're looking to cut off from them now they are going up. But yeah, with the way that second half unfolded against Forest, I think that Bournemouth were very much the aggressors in that one, really. So no complaints, but yeah, some big moments from those January signings.
Yeah, Scott Parker gets loads of stick, Ryan. I'm going to give him some credit on the basis of what Ben just said as well. That is actually good management, having all those players coming in and not panicking and just starting them all. He did have a settled 11 by the end of the season. Ryan, I said in my post-match thoughts, the people who don't trust Scott Parker, this promotion will make utterly no difference to them whatsoever. They'll all say, big spend, parachute team, tripped over the line. It is, I suppose, superior to winning his last one, where he won in the playoffs in extra time against Brentford. But where are you now with Scott Parker, who now, like people like, I guess, Daniel Farker, Chris Hughton, is a double promotion winner?
He is, but he's done it with two squads that probably should have done better, really. When you've got a squad that's as bulging as this Bournemouth side is,
bulging.
I think, bulging, yeah. It's minds of children. When it's
you said it.
as bulging as it is, I think it's more difficult not to get it promoted, but Scott Parker did his very best not to get it promoted. Is worth saying that they could have very easily have wrapped this all up by just getting 3 points from one of the numerous games they've drawn recently. And my concern is they've played in their last 8 games, they've played only one team outside the top half and only won 3 of them. Now they're going to be in the Premier League next. Only lost once, yeah, but they're going to be in the Premier League next season against teams that are better than that, and they're playing them every single week. So how are they going to get results against those teams consistently next season? I'm not really too sure, unless they seriously strengthen, because I've still got my concerns about Scott Parker. That's not going to change because he's got promoted with a very, very expensive side. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done for Bournemouth to make sure they're not going to be back in the Championship in a year's time.
That is the next jump, isn't it? It's, what do you do next? And I agree with where Ben was going. We see it every year, don't we? Where players are brought in to get promotion and it's ruthless and it's elite sport. And then back down, they immediately come without kicking a ball in the Premier League. Look, I'm sure we can have another discussion about financial distributions, inequalities. That's the 5th out of 6 teams, the last 6 promoted automatically are, relegated teams currently in receipt of a parachute payment. Leeds were the outlier there, if they're an outlier, because they, brought in frankly a world-class coach and were a big club. You then look at Norwich and Sheffield United, which was a great year, but obviously Norwich had just finished 3 years of parachute payments, which allowed them to buy James Maddison for £2 million, which would be a transfer record for a lot of Championship teams, loan him out, sell him for 25 million quid, which is basically good work if you can do it. But I don't think Millwall or Luton or Barnsley would be able to sign someone for £2 million to loan out for a couple of years. And don't get me wrong, I love that Norwich team in 18-19, but we can't say it's totally clean. And then back you go, Wolves and Cardiff. Wolves, yeah. Didn't have parachute payments, but lost £1 million a week to buy some Champions League players to do that. Cardiff had parachute payments. Newcastle had parachute payments. Brighton didn't, but they had Tony Bloom. So it's where we are in the Championship now. I always say, don't hate the player, hate the game. I get the resentment from the teams that don't have them. Believe me, I support one that just drifted and drifted and drifted and drifted. Ben's in a very similar situation, and I dare say, for any Derby County representative, that's the other one of gamble, don't make it, kaput, out you go. So there we go. Anyway, let's talk about another parachute team getting promoted, and Fulham. Ryan, look, where do Fulham stand? Because potentially they could go past Manchester City's 108 goals. So let's be very specific for the pedants in the comments. This is the post-Premier League era, second-tier goal-scoring record. If you want to comment on other excellent teams before that, please feel free to do so. Just stay calm when you're doing that. But Fulham, Ryan, they've been brilliant at times, massively attacking. I don't think in terms of team shape I've seen as bold a team in the Championship. For maybe Farke's Norwich, they were literally just all out, don't care. Attack. When I look at Leeds Bielsa, I think they were a bit smoother, but not as clinical. When I look at Wilder's Sheffield United, they're probably a bit more innovative, but I think that was more of a managerial triumph. And then we mentioned that Wolves team that essentially had 3 Champions League level players in it. Where does this team stand?
I don't really know, to be honest. They're the first Championship side since 2004, since it was rebranded, to have scored 100 or more goals, which is an indicator of just how good they've been going forwards. And I think they don't get enough credit for how good they are defensively. But
they're doing defending.
Well,
in the other half the whole time, aren't they?
Well, yeah, they're defending. Their best form of defence is attack, isn't it, for them?
Bold.
But then you've got the likes of Adarabayo, for example, and Williams, Robinson, Tete. These players who are really good at just sweeping up anything that comes at them. And I don't think they get enough credit for that. But where do they rank compared to other Championship sides? I don't think I'd put them in my top 5, just because they've had so many occasions this season where they have not been the team that we've seen at the best. They've had plenty of occasions where they've slipped up and I thought, okay, I'm not 100% convinced. But at the same time, they've had promotion pretty much wrapped up since January. I remember when I was listening back to an episode me and Justin did where we were talking about who's going to get promoted this season. And both of us said Fulham are definitely going to finish in the top 2. And obviously they have done. So it depends what you measure the barometer on when it comes to how good a side is. My instinct is I wouldn't put it in the top 5, but I'd put it probably just outside the top 5 teams who have ever played in the Championship, somewhere around there, probably.
Where are you with this, Ben? Because again, if we put the resentment that comes the wealthier teams' way, obviously they've had, and I think we need to probably start saying the best Championship striker ever now, don't we? Give this, with the 43 goals and one more game to go. I do accept the argument from Fulham fans that they just would have played Rodrigo Muniz if Mitrovic had been injured all season and probably finished in the top 3, wouldn't they? So, what are you thinking? I found the Leeds side under Bielsa and the first Norwich Farke side more thrilling. But when I went to see Fulham in the flesh, it was fun. So attacking. And you talk about defenders on the halfway line. Screw that. 10 yards inside the other half.
Yeah. No, for me personally, I think this Fulham side ranks right up there for me. I think that I'd agree with what Ryan said, where you probably can't throw them in as that top side because of a few inconsistencies here and there.
Reading.
But I also... Yeah, exactly. But I also think, in fairness to Fulham, they've not really had, for me, that side massively pushing them this season. Like we're sort of seeing in the Premier League with Man City and Liverpool, I think that those two have sort of pushed themselves onto new levels, really. Whereas Bournemouth have been there for pretty much the majority of the season, but apart from that unbeaten run at the start, it never quite felt like they were going to surpass Fulham and what they were sort of doing with the goals they were scoring, the results they were picking up early on, and probably with a little bit of complacency in that second half of the season. We saw them sort of wind down towards the end of the season a little bit. So to me, it feels like maybe a bit of a missed opportunity to properly get up and amongst that 100-point mark. Because I certainly think this Fulham squad has the capabilities to go ahead and do that. But some thrilling football throughout the year, the goals that are scored, Mitrovic and things like that. I think it'll be a Fulham side that are fondly remembered. But yeah, I'd probably edge a few of them from the last 5 years over this Fulham side. Probably I'm looking at that Leeds and that Norwich team especially for me, I think. Just pip them.
That's such a great point about the competition he's made, Justin, isn't it? I was just thinking about the first thing I thought of when he said that was the Bielsa team in 18-19. Most years gets promoted, doesn't it? If Farke's not around, if Wilder's not around, and if Grealish, Abraham and Mings aren't at Aston Villa, Barnes-Gale and Rodriguez, Mount, Tomori and Wilson at Derby. Can you just parlay into your answer a bit, Justin? The thrashings, because I think, have there been 3-7 nils? There was that week probably after Ryan was mentioned when I think they scored 7, 6 and 6 in 1 week against Reading, Birmingham and Bristol City. They scored 19 goals in 3 games. No one's ever done that. I know Reading got 106 points, and that's basically coast to coast, just perfect, isn't it? 2.3 points per game or something. But what are your feelings? And talk about the significance of those absolute shellackings they handed out.
Yeah, I think it is a strange one because they're a team based purely on their results. Because if you look at it on the face of it, you go, Fulham, yeah, they've got to quite easily be on the top 5. But the only thing that makes you sort of go, well, hang on a minute, is just the inconsistency that sometimes crept in with them with results. Teams playing low blocks. Remember that Blackpool home game where Blackpool pretty much had Fulham's number at Craven Cottage. It was a really good result for Blackpool. I think it finished 1-1 and really good performance from Blackpool, and it seemed to sort of galvanise other teams to try and repeat the same process. I think Derby did it as well at Craven Cottage as well. But just the attack has just been ridiculous and relentless, and quite easily can go into the category of the divisions, the Championship's best ever attack. Quite simply, I think you've got the likes of Harry Wilson in supply. Cabano's had a really good season goal-wise as well, and he's been a fringe player for how long? He's outperformed Ivan Cavaliero and Anthony Okiart, who cost triple, quadruple what Cabano would have cost when he came in.
That's credit to Silva, Justin, isn't it?
Exactly. And I was a big critic of Marco Silva when he came in and wasn't enamoured by the appointment, but actually it's proved me wrong. And he's got this team playing in a way that Scott Parker couldn't find a way. It was a bit like, I guess it's a bit like how Jukanovic wanted to get them going, but it wasn't quite where Jukanovic wanted them to be. But Marco Silva untapped the potential in every single one of those attacking players, even defensively as well. They're a good team, as Ryan has pointed out. But yeah, just attacking wise, they're quite easily the best I think the Championship has seen. One of the best Championship teams ever. I'd put them in my top 5 personally, but again, it's just that inconsistency that sometimes crept in against the lower block teams.
Question, Justin Peach. You said Norwich were in your top 5 Championship teams ever last season. So are you putting them above the Norwich side from last season?
I don't think I would. I think that
the one from last season, I have the 18-19 Norwich as a more favourite than I know they were more consistent. They got more points, but in terms of my preference, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think I would put them above Fulham because of how consistent they were in terms of results. They're a lot more consistent than Fulham, and perhaps I would edge them further ahead just a little bit. I think all round play was a lot better than Fulham's than with Norwich.
Let us know, because I think, Ryan, we can have a very good debate here. We can play off we can play maybe a Buendia and Pukki against a Wilson and Mitrovic, Jota, Neves and Bolly against the Mings, Abraham and Grealish. It really does make you think. When you look at star power, that Bielsa Leeds team, he did such a good job, because when he never had a Wilson or a Mitrovic or a Buendia or a Pukki. He had a Calvin Phillips, didn't he? Fascinating. Right, we will get into that probably in another episode. But what we're going to get into now is some permutations. So you're ready for a headache because we're going into final day. So let's get this very clear straight away. Nottingham Forest and Huddersfield are definitely going to be 3rd and 4th in whatever order, and are definitely going to play at home in the second leg of their playoff game, whoever that is against. Forest go to Hull. Huddersfield are at home to Bristol City, so they're both heavy favourites to win their games. Forest occupy the higher ground at the moment, so I won't make a prediction, but I'll say Forest are favourites to end up in that 3rd spot. And we'll say no more about that, and I'll put my normal caveat in. Never write off Huddersfield. They made a fool out of me many, many times this season. Right. 5th and 6th is a little bit more interesting. So I'll lay this out, and then I'll let you guys come in. It does go with higher ground. So Sheffield United and that Fulham drubbing of Luton might actually end up being one of the most significant results if Luton are not leading, say, 70 minutes into the weekend with that goal difference swing. So Sheffield United have a lovely, juicy goal difference advantage over Luton. They're level on points, and they've got 3-point advantage over Millwall. Basically, for both Blades and Luton, a win and they're in. Things get interesting if either of those sides don't win, especially if Sheffield United draw and Middlesbrough are leading by 1 goal at any point against Preston, where we are literally at head-to-head, and a Morgan Gibbs-White goal back in March would be the actual difference maker. So Luton play Reading. Reading are in my Bristol City camp of being able to do anything, lose 3-0, win 3-0 at whatever point. I'm not suggesting either of those things are going to happen. Middlesbrough go to Ben HD's Preston, who are on the beach in 14th. And Borough, if they win and get some help from elsewhere, could make it. They probably need to win by a couple of goals to really not have us all grabbing our abacuses. Abaci? Would that be I don't know. Abacuses. Vince Russo's bulging abaci. There you go.
Jesus.
There's your title for the show, Ben HD. And then Millwall guys would have loved the fact that Bournemouth beat Forest in the week. Bournemouth are still good. They're still second. And we do have this situation as well where Millwall could go past Luton, could go past Middlesbrough with a win. And there is a scenario that Fulham go mental at Sheffield United, win 4-0. Millwall win 2-0 at Bournemouth. They're on the beach. They don't care. Can actually go past Sheffield United with a 6-goal swing as well. So, and before anyone says that's never going to happen, all we need to say is Nottingham Forest and Swansea on the last day of 2020, which will win any argument about any scenario being too ridiculous, because that was 30 minutes from the end of the season, 3 points and a 6-goal swing. So, who am I going to go with first? Justin Peach, what in the F is going to happen?
Well, I hate these questions because they're so hard to predict. But I think the Fulham game is interesting because if you take Leeds, for example, when they won the league and had the league wrapped up, they got better the more pissed they got. So
remember that game against Stoke? Having a lovely old time, weren't they?
Yeah, exactly. I remember coming to Pride Park and they were very drunk and they still outplayed Derby then, which was very, very sad. But yeah, they seem to get better. But I don't think that Fulham team will be of the same guild as that Leeds team, just because of the expectation. So maybe not so much, not such a party heavy week. And I think Silva will rotate his team, and I think he'll play some fringe players. I think Muniz will get a run out because obviously he's been playing second fiddle to Mitrovic all season, and Cabano and Cavaliero potentially as well. So I think that team will be rotated, which is just plays it in Sheffield United's favour, and Sheffield United's home form as well is still decent. Going to Borough, Preston's home form is very good. Borough's away form is very bad. And that makes me think that Borough might not get a result, but then Preston on the beach.
Day, Justin.
Exactly.
All that nonsense. Come on.
Yeah, well, exactly. Preston on holiday, but I think, judging from Ryan Lowe's comments, I think some players might be playing for their futures as well. So there's that potential there. And then the Luton game is the most interesting because Reading have a history with ruining final day playoff hopes of other teams. Derby again being another one of those teams who have been victim to that, and I think Reading can do the same thing here. But I think the interesting thing with teams who get massive drubbings is they always improve the game after. I mean, it's hard to not improve because even if it's a 1-0 defeat, it's a remarkable improvement because you're not going to lose 7-0. But they always get better, and Birmingham are a good example. Lose 6-0 to Blackpool, draw 2-2 in the next game. Long story short, I had no idea what's going to happen. I just got no idea.
Vince Russo did not write that monologue, did he?
No.
You tailed off at the end there, JP. Ryan Dilks.
Well, if you think of it,
the blank faces when this guy said, I've got no idea.
If you think about it with your head, Sheffield United haven't lost at home since October. Luton haven't lost at home since November and have also only lost back-to-back games once this season.
Lots of injuries, Ryan.
Yeah, true. Preston have actually a surprisingly good home record, which completely passed me by. They've only lost 4 times at Deepdale this season. Which...
You not hear Ben HD repeatedly mentioning it?
No. So, with that being said, it looks like it should all just stay as it is. But, as you always say, it is the last day. And Swansea Forest just completely throws out any sense of normality in the Championship. So, yeah, I'd say that it's going to finish as it is, but that lingering thought in my mind is of Reading pulling out a last-minute win, Middlesbrough getting an early goal away at Preston.
Get in there.
And then Millwall.
By 12:38, I want all of this done, yeah?
And then out of nowhere, Benik Afobe pulling 2 goals against his old side. So who knows? But I think all teams in there will be feeling very nervous come the final day.
Ryan is right to say that, Ben, isn't he? That, I know we joke, oh, it's the championship, oh, it's final day, but it is rare for a big switcheroony last minute. That was an outlier, Swansea and Forest, a couple of years ago. And looking at it, I think a draw is. I think Sheffield United could get away with a draw on the basis of that head-to-head, and that would then put Millwall out of it. Like Ryan mentioned, Luton's home record is decent as well, and just in terms of probability, Millwall have literally got to go past 2 teams. If you look at it that way, Millwall have got to have 3 results go for them, or 2 out of 3, and Sheffield United have got to have 2 out of 3 go against them. So the probability of things staying the same is there, but it's not going to happen, is it? I like Ryan's idea of 12:35. Middlesbrough have already taken the lead. Millwall are 2-0 up. Luton are down against Reading, and Sheffield United are 6 down by Fulham. They can score 6 in the first 3 minutes, can't they?
Yeah, it is going to be an interesting one. I think that on the surface of things, I think that on paper, you have to say that Luton have the easiest fixture coming into this weekend. But as we've seen with Luton this season, they can have their mad moments. And I had a flashback the other day of, I think there was a game where Reading put 5 past Luton a couple of seasons ago. I think that Yaku Mete scored like 4. Yeah, scored 4 in that game. So who knows? We may get a repeat of that. But I think that I think I'd like to be in Luton's shoes with that fixture coming up, albeit we have to take into consideration all the mad injuries at this point in time. The interesting one then comes with Sheffield United and Middlesbrough. I can see Millwall picking up a result against Bournemouth because of how the last day sort of went for them, and they may not be feeling it, although saying that Millwall do draw a hell of a lot of games on the road, but obviously surely we'd expect them to just throw absolutely everything at it. But that last spot then between Sheffield United and Middlesbrough, if we are saying that Luton get past Reading, I think becomes a very interesting one, because I think Sheffield United have the best defensive record in terms of home matches in the Championship, but Fulham have got by far and away the best goal-scoring record on the road. And I just can't see a world where Fulham don't score at least 1 goal in that game. And Sheffield United have been
just past 12:30. That 1 goal, please.
Yeah. And Sheffield United have been a little bit spotty in this second half of the season with consistently hitting the back of the net. I think they are the lowest scorers out of the sides that are currently in the top 6. So if Fulham take the lead in that game, I think that there could be a lot of nervy blades around. Preston, I've got no idea which version of us will turn up on the final day, to be honest. I think that after the sort of Blackburn shenanigans, Ryan Lowe is quite eager to end the season on a high, really. Obviously, we bounced back against Barnsley, but everyone beats Barnsley, so that's not much to sing about, really.
So unnecessary.
If I had to say it, I think Middlesbrough may sneak it against us, but I don't think it will be by a 2 or 3 goal margin, which doesn't really play into their favour with the Sheffield United goal difference if they manage to go ahead and sneak a draw. So I think what I'm saying is I think Luton get 5th with a win. Sheffield United play out a draw with Fulham. Middlesbrough beat Preston by 1 goal and then just miss out on goal difference. I think that's where I'm at this point in time.
He's gone all in on that one, hasn't he? Look, it's going to be tremendous. Can we just go a quick round robin, because we know Forest and Huddersfield are both in. Who do you think has the bigger upside, Ryan, Forest and Huddersfield, in a playoff 3 games?
What do you mean? Who's
got a better chance of winning it?
Oh, right, okay. I'd say Forest. I think they're going to be the favourites, whoever gets into the playoffs. But I will have the caveat that I'm not as strong on them now because of the result on Tuesday night. And I think that may have hit their morale, but I'm still going Forest.
Justin, who's between Huddersfield and Forest? Who do you prefer?
I prefer Huddersfield. I think their game plan suits playoff football. Be tight. Focus on your set pieces. If you go in front, defend, and I think that's going to suit a playoff campaign better than Forest. And also they've got players coming back, whereas Forest do have quite a lot of injuries. Grabban, Davis, same. No, Davis might be back.
Would Davis be back?
He had a return date of May, but could be the end of May and could be for the playoff final if they get there, etc. I think injuries could harm them, and obviously might have to get past Borough, in which they wouldn't be able to play Jed Spence. So
interesting. Ben, who with those two guaranteed sides, where are you thinking? I'm frozen when your heart's not open.
He's just thinking about it really hard.
I could have gone for a song from Frozen rather than a lesser-known 90s Madonna hit there, couldn't I? Well, Ben HD gave us such a good answer on the previous one. I hope you can hear all of this. It's just like fighting through that we'll let him away with it. Oh, no, he's back.
Oh, there he is.
Back.
Did you hear all of that? Justin was slagging you off something chronic.
I missed it all. I'll have to watch it back on the recording.
Don't. No, just Forest and Huddersfield. He didn't. Forest and Huddersfield.
It's a difficult one. I think that out of the two of them, I'd say Forest this season have impressed me more in the second half of the season. But I think head-to-heads have been level between these two in the league this season. Huddersfield won one of them. Forest won the other one. Can Steve Cooper finally break that playoff duck? I think with how Huddersfield have just relentlessly proved people wrong this season, bit of a history in the playoffs as well. There could be something in this for them. But it's tough to separate those two, I think.
Quick yes or no. I know we'll do this next week. Justin Peach, are we going to see a penalty shootout in the playoffs at any point?
I mean, Huddersfield got to the playoff final a few years ago, not scoring any goals
loved it.
and winning via penalty shootout. So absolutely, we're going to see one.
Ryan Dilks, are we going to have another like Aston Villa West Brom moment?
I think so, yes, because I think this is probably one of the hardest to call playoffs we've seen in quite some time.
Ben HD, you here for the penalty shootout?
Yeah, I love a bit of penalty drama. Bring it on, I say.
The penalty competition. There we go. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on Championship 365. Let us know what you want us to do next week. We'll probably do we're going to be playoffs on Friday and Saturday next week. So do get involved in the comments. Get your thoughts in on Bournemouth and where do Fulham stand and how do you see these playoffs playing out? Say goodbye, Ryan Dilks.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Justin Peach.
See you later.
See if you can say goodbye more effeminately than Dilks did, Ben HD.
I'm not falling into this trap again. See you later, guys.
Okay, say goodbye in a very manly fashion then, Ben HD.
Goodbye.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party.